Hey guys, how's it going? Failcoil here. I figured I would make a tier list video. I have a tier list set up on my Twitch page, but it doesn't really explain a lot. So I'll go over why I think people are where they are for now. And since this is the first video, I'm also going to go over the ranks and how I place things. So first of all, I'm assuming that everything's kind of equal. Basically, everything's level 3. All your heroes are the same level. You're faced against same level heroes. So everything's the same level. For ranks, basically for heroes, S is just the best. Like they're the top heroes that you're gonna be using. A is basically heroes that are just not as good as S, but they're still really good. They're just missing a little something. Typing up there. B level heroes, basically they're good, but they have weaknesses that you can take advantage of. And they're just not the weaknesses just make them not as good as the other guys. C, I think these heroes are good if you know how to play them. If you're good with them, you're pretty good. You can probably beat a lot of these other guys. They're just not high enough. Like they just don't do enough to be actual useful. Like if you're going against, say, a Bodhi that's as skilled as you with a Dengar, you're probably gonna lose. Type thing. And then D, these guys are just hard to use. They have a lot of weaknesses. They're just not good all around. They need major buffs to be better. For uniques, it's basically first 3 tiers are like S, A, B. You should probably always use them in your decks. Just like the severity of how good they are. Like S is super good. A is they're decent. Like they're way better than any cards you can put in your deck, but they're not the greatest ones. And B is basically there's just not better like rares or epics that you could put in your deck that would be better in this spot. C is kind of where if you don't want to use them, you don't really have to use them. You can figure out better stuff for them, but you could usually find a place for them if you want. And then D is just don't use them. Like they're just useless. So another little thing too is I update this every couple weeks. So you can see here, this is somebody moving up a tier, and then this is somebody moving down a tier. Just to keep things so you know what happened from the last week. Like I said, this is on my Twitch page. I will also link it in the comments section below. So you can always check that out. All right, let's get to the list. For heroes in S tier, I put them in order. So I think Bodhi's first, Han second, Hera is third, Cassian fourth. I don't do that for any other things, but just for S tier heroes. So, all right, guys, let's get started. All right, first up we have Bodhi. I think he's probably the best hero in the game right now. He's really good at defense. Makes a lot of your cards better. Like a lot of people use either towers or gunks or tanks with them, so it just gives them a whole bunch of health. And his special ability is just super strong. It's so hard to kill him, so it's so hard to get a free push against him. Especially like Ewing's really strong too, so that helps him out. So Bodhi is super strong, I think. Next up is Han. I don't think of a lot of people use Chew anymore. I really like taunts, so I have him rated pretty high. I don't know if people would use them anymore, but I still like them. I use them in most of my Han decks, but Han, his mine is just super strong right now. His crit ability is really good, and he basically doesn't really have any weaknesses. Crit is so huge. His skills are really strong. If you can kill him, yeah, you can counter push, but then you got to deal with mines. So I think he's definitely second best rebel. Him and Vader, 40 Vader, are pretty close. Next up, I think is going to see a lot of plays Hera. Chopper's really strong. Especially with the new Empire droid, I think we'll see a lot of play. So I think that's going to help out Hera a lot. Her special ability, her skill, is really strong, 450% of attack power. And when you're playing Chop all the time, her special ability is pretty strong too. Faster energy, faster cooldown for your skill. Um, and so, like, I don't think she has enough damage or health to really compete with Han or Bodhi at this point, but she's pretty close. And depending how the meta goes, she might become stronger too. Lots of MTVs, ATSTs. Like, if there's a lot of droids, Chopper will end up really good. Personally, I think a lot of people are going to start using snipers and the new droid for Empire guy. So, I think she'll be really good. Next up is Cassian. A lot of people have very different opinions about him. I just think he's super good at energy efficiency with just his Pathfinders. The range helps a bit. It can kind of throw you off when you're trying to judge tower stuff. He's just really good. You can just sit back, snipe people, take out damaging minions and stuff. And K2 is also really good to counter like really hard divers and stuff. And he's just a cheap, decently tanky body, so it makes Cassian's kit really good. The mini nerf to Pathfinder kind of hurts him, and also a lot of people are used to playing Cassian against Cassian now, so they know they kind of have decks set up to beat him almost like net and stun. So he's not as good as the top three. So he's still really good, but just not up there. Next we're gonna get into A tier. First up is Luke. I think the new changes with Luke are a nerf because how often are you gonna run up and just be able to tank a turret and not have something dropped on your face? I know a lot of people just played Helmet Luke where they just sat back and tried to deflect, so that's gonna be not as strong now. He's still great at diving towers and stuff, like none of that's changed. Another big problem with Luke is why he's not S tier is because Kenobi, especially now that a lot of people I think are gonna be using that droid, he's not as good. I kind of liked him before, because you could take like a stun or something, and then you still have like a 4 energy body, and then you get the buff. But I don't think people will be using Kenobi as much anymore. Next up is 40 Luke. I think he's be alright now. He's really strong. He's got a lot of utility. He's just lacking on the damage a bit. I really like him, but he's super mobile, super quick. A lot of utility. I think he's up there with the A tier. And then Jin. I think Jin is really close to being S tier. Like, it was hard. The difference between her and Cassian is really small. I just think she has trouble dealing with AoE sometimes, so she got a nice health buff a few patches ago, so her skill does tons of damage. Her special ability is super strong. I just think that her ability to deal with AoE is a little weak, and sometimes she can't defend a push as well as she wants because you got to get into melee for her to actually do damage. So sometimes she can get in a tough position, but she's really close to moving up to S tier. And who knows, even with the people using sniper more, I think she might end up moving up to S tier. But we'll visit that in a week too. Now down to B. We'll go with Lando. Thing with Lando is he's just got a lot of utility. Like Neo Nub, Ian Nub, Nub I like to call him. I think he's kind of strong, but he's not like the greatest unique. So people use him, some people don't. I think it really depends what level you have him at. But Lando, like you can find what you want when you need it, but other than that, he doesn't really do too much. Like you get extra energy. Sometimes if you get a whole bunch of 2 energies, it's really good, but just a little random sometimes. It hurts him a lot. Next one that moved up is Ezra. I think the buff to, like, I said it was a nerf to Luke, but I think it's a huge buff to Kanan, being able to reflect tower shots. Because you can put him into tower range, and then he'll, even if he deflects 1 or 2 shots, Ezra can get to the tower, do some damage. I think Ezra still needs a little work, but Kanan's in a really nice spot now. Ezra's just, like, his special ability is really hard to use, And he's more of just an all-out dive kind of guy, so his defense is lacking. Down to C. Leia's on the rise. People are starting to learn how to use her speed buff. Basically, mostly like Bantha stuff. I think with Leia being better, Evan's a little better. She's just basically a 2-body. You can like really do without her, but she's just a cheap body if you just want to throw her in. Next we have Sabine, who kind of fell. I think with the new Empire droid, her specials kind of sucks. When she like her skill, I mean, like okay, I can do 300% to a tank. It's not that great. Explosive things doesn't do too much since there's not that many. And the problem is when she dashes in, most people are just gonna kill her. She just doesn't have enough health. And before she used to have the damage to back it up, but now she doesn't. And finally at the bottom is poor Baze. Problem with Baze is Sharut is not that good. Like you have to use him, but he's really not that good for 4 energy. Like he's super low health, super low damage. He can be cutted forever, even with the new buff. But yeah, Baze is just not that good. I wouldn't use him unless you really like him. Alright, that's Rebel Heroes. We'll switch over to Empire now. And of course everyone knows it's gonna be 40th Vader. He's not as bad as everybody says, but he's super strong. He's super fun to play. He's quick, he does a lot of damage. He's got good specials, he's got a good passive. He makes basically if you make a mistake, he punishes it super hard, and you can barely catch up after that. So number one, Empire, definitely. See if he gets nerfed eventually. But next up is Tarkin. I just think Tarkin is you build a good deck with him, and he's hard to beat. Like he just has so much utility, and he can just stand there forever. So he forces you to do something. So if you build a deck that like pushes the action, it's okay sometimes, but most of the time, Tarkins can just sit back and basically do what Tarkin did, just command the battlefield, do whatever he wants. The only downside to Tarkin sometimes is it's hard to get tower damage unless you're using your ability, where you can punish him for it. So other than that, like he's definitely second best, I think. And next up, this one I don't think a lot of people will agree with, but I really like Old Vader. Not just because the game gives me a whole bunch of them for some reason, but I think the triple stun, like running stun, Afra, and Vader, you can just take out so many of the heroes that are meta on the other side because they're all mostly squishy. So, like you stun them, you grab them, and then you stun them again, and they're basically dead, and you just get a strong push. And like Vader, the knock on Vader is he's super slow, but he still has lots of health, and he still does tons of damage if you can get to something. So those are the S tiers for Empire. I know there's probably a few people that are going to argue about a few of these things, but like I said, this is kind of my playstyle. This is what I think. Next up is Krennic. I think the biggest thing about Krennic is like the hero is just he's got a lot of damage and his special ability is always useful. And like his skill, especially with his reload stuff, like you have your skill up all the time. It just does a lot of damage. Biggest knock about Krennic why he's not S tier is because DSL. DSL sucks unless you have them super high level, like 5 or 6, and then they're super strong. But it's one of those things. It's like they suck, and then they're really good. But most people don't have them that high, so you don't really use them. I think another next one up is Callus. I don't know. People are probably going to argue about this one for sure, but I think Callus still has really strong control. He doesn't have as much damage as he used to, but he still has lots of AOE. He's got a sweet stun. And he's still a tanky body. Yogar is kind of iffy. People use him, but I don't think they should. I think that's one of the big things with Callus is Yogar is not that useful. But I just think you have so much control with Callus. It's like he's got so much AOE. He does 10% more damage to units, and he just like his stun is a wind up. But now, if you get stunned during your stun, you don't lose the cooldown, so I think it's fine. But like I said, Yogark's kind of holding him back, and his attack speed's a little slow, but I think he's still a solid play. Next up, we're going to B tier, we'll start off with Bosk. I think a lot of people underappreciate. Like IG-88's no good anymore, but still, like Boss's kid is still good. He's got CC, he's got energy, he's got AOE. He's just an all-around decent hero. Like he's not gonna be top tier as he is right now, but he's also not bottom tier. Like he's super. You can use him and still be decent. Next up, this is the other one that I think people are gonna argue with because a lot of people use Thrawn and do well with him, but I think he's only C tier, especially with Boomerang guy out now. Is he gets hurt a lot by AOE. If you have good AOE, it's pretty easy to keep him down. But he's kind of in the same position as 40 Vader, where if you make a mistake against him, he can just punish you super hard. One other thing about Thrawn is I really don't like his unique. I know a lot of people use it, but I'm not a big fan of it. I'd rather almost just Zerg. She kind of helps with that, but it's basically one of those things. You can keep her up for basically half the game, it's worth it. But otherwise than that, it's not. Stormtrooper is always fun. Get more damage the longer you stay in. So really, he might be closer to B, or A, sorry. But right now, I just have him at B, just because of Boomerang guy. It just keeps him down. Next up, Seventh Sister. Some people think she's really strong and OP, but she kind of has the same problem with Thrawn. Is like Boomerang guy AOE owns her. Like if people know how to take care of her drones, she's not that good. But if you get her drones on something, it's super strong and she's super quick, so you can take advantage of mistakes really easily. Another thing is people don't like Brother. I kind of like Brother just because of taunt, but basically he's just a big body for 4 energy, which is nice for. Even though you get the new droid, it's still nice just to have a big body on Empire that can tank some stuff. And then moving up to be this patch is Boba. I think Boba got buffed for his AoE and his movement speed, so he's a little better. He still does tons of damage to heroes. I might even thought about moving him to A, but I think he has a bug with his auto attack. Slave one's really good. I think a lot of people start seeing how good it is once people start using Boba. Just so good at controlling the battlefield. Especially like 3 energy is basically a net and a bomber. Super strong. And then on to C, where we have one of my favorites, Dengar. Biggest problem with Dengar is he's got no utility. He's all damage. So Forlom's probably one of the best uniques, arguably if not the best unique. He just does so much damage for being 2. He's also a decent body. Problem with Dengar is he has no special ability. Like his passive is basically useless. Sometimes I think like 2 out of 100 games it comes into effect where basically you lose your tower early, so you split up damage on both towers and then you take them both near the end. But those are few and far between. His skill's decent. 300% can sometimes screw you over, but it's just good taking out heroes. Sometimes it just finishes off a Luke who's trying to block or something. You can finish off a tower or take out an energy droid. So it's decent. It's not the best skill in the game, but it's definitely not the worst. And some of the things with Dengar, though, is if you can just sit there and attack people, it's fine. But most people know not to just stand there and get shot by Dengar. So he's just in the C tier just because he's all DPS. And if you can't get a good way of getting the hero to stand still, he's not that great. Basically, Forlom carries him. Next up is Emperor. I'm not really sure where to put Emperor now, because Royal Guard's got a buff, and they're super nice now. I think Emperor was always undervalued. He just has so much DPS. It's ridiculous. So, especially if you can kill somebody. If you kill somebody, you just go nuts for a bit. So he might end up being super strong this patch. We'll have to see. But I have him in C tier just because He has super low health, so he's super easy to kill if you can get to him. But it's basically like glass cannon all the way. This is definition of it. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's way to be seen. But I still think he's not as good as most of the other guys, just because glass is so squishy. Next up, and the bottom with D tier is GI. I just think problem with GI is kind of like Dengar. He's all DPS. He's got no utility to him. Does do a lot of DPS, but melee, it's just rough nowadays. Like you're facing against Bodhi, you're facing against Han. So all these guys aren't very good for GI. His unique isn't very good. Like he runs fast and then he stops to throw his lightsaber. It's like kind of counteracts what he's supposed to be doing. And I just think if you're gonna play GI and you have him the same level, you may as well just play 40 Vader because he does everything GI does, but way better. All right, guys. That's my tier list for now. I'm not gonna go over the uniques because they're kind of like you have your heroes basically, and then if you're playing your heroes, you kind of look. It's like okay, I'll add this guy. I won't add this guy. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you want me to see more of these, leave comments. If you think I should change something, let me know. I'll probably do this next time. Video next time they do a update, probably like 1.8 or something, or big buff changes. Because even if the meta changes a little bit, I'll probably just move it around. So you can keep checking it up every couple weeks and see if people move around and stuff. Well, hope you enjoyed the video. Like I said, the link for this spreadsheet will be in the comments. It's also on my Twitch page. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will talk to you later.